Holodomor, in Ukrainian death by starvation, is the Soviet man-made genocide of 1932-1933 that resulted in the slow death of millions of Ukrainians. The Soviet regime under Stalin forcibly took away all the food from the largest, most prosperous segment of Ukraine, its farmers, to the very last grain. Each village and town was eventually surrounded by Soviet soldiers, creating a blockade. When its residents tried to leave in search of food, they were arrested, exiled, or killed, while those inside starved to death. At the peak of the famine in June 1933, there were 28,000 deaths daily, with 30% of them children. The Communist Party of the USSR that carried out the genocide denied its existence and terrorized the population into silence for generations. The majority of documents about the Holodomor were destroyed by Soviet authorities. The areas most affected were of central, southern, and eastern Ukraine, as well as Kuban, a territory in southern Russia adjacent to Ukraine that was heavily populated by ethnic Ukrainians. This was a deliberate attempt to decimate the largest non-Russian ethnic group in the Soviet Union, the Ukrainians, and to put an end to their national identity, aspirations for autonomy and independence for decades. Thus, the term Holodomor is used to encompass both the starvation of the Ukrainians as well as the overall assault on the Ukrainian nation, identity, its cultural, religious, and political leadership. With 80% of the Ukrainian intelligentsia destroyed in the 1930s, they were then replaced by non-Ukrainian officials of the occupying Soviet state. Those brought in to settle the abandoned villages and depopulated regions in Ukraine were Russians and Belarusians. The policy of Russification and denationalization of Ukraine made Ukrainians second-class citizens on their own territory, enforcing a Soviet identity and a Russian language onto the Ukrainian population. To date, 34 countries outside of Ukraine recognize Holodomor as genocide, and on November 24th this year, 55 countries in the UN signed an updated declaration on Holodomor on its 90th anniversary. Yet 90 years on, the world watches as history repeats itself, while Russia's actions and objectives remain the same. Russia continues the genocide of Ukrainians through the mass murder of unarmed civilians, the weaponizing of food, and the blockade of cities. In Mariupol alone, with a population of 500,000, it has been estimated up to 100,000 people were killed by the Russian military, and the ones remaining were forced to drink water from puddles and to bury their newborn babies, their loved ones, and neighbors in shallow graves. Yes, Russia continues the genocide today through the systematic targeting and destruction of Ukrainian schools, universities, museums, libraries, symbols, culture, and the Ukrainian language, as well as the horrific act of organized kidnapping, deportation to Russia, and the re-education of hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian children. Since February 24, 2022, the parliaments of Ukraine, Poland, Canada, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Ireland declared that Russia's actions in Ukraine today constitute genocide. Today, the world acknowledges and remembers every single victim, every taken life and destroyed family of the Holodomor genocide and Russia's ongoing genocide of Ukrainians.